Shalom. Shalom. Giving all praise to Yahweh Shem Shai Bashem Kakwadash. And I'm going to entitle this video Back to the Basics, Revelation chapter 17. Now, I did a video, but what I did was I kind of put in Revelation 17. A bunch of videos came up, mostly with Edomites. Now, I don't know if I keep scrolling down, if any brothers put up videos anywhere in Israel, because you got to make them understand the prophetic parts of the Bible. And we here at GMS, we make sure we put up, we go through those prophetic parts of the scriptures. This one, Jerusalem is the whore of Babylon, which is clearly wrong. Jerusalem is the great whore of Babylon, Revelation 17, explained with proof. Theology room. Mostly all Edomites. Which shows you that Esau, the Edomites, or they appeared to be Edomites, they really go into the Bible, unlike the so-called black church, which is a major joke. This guy is pretty good. I used to listen to him on TV. It's called he used to have a show called Amazing Facts or Amazing Facts of the Bible. Doug Batchelor. I mean, I don't know what his take is on Revelation chapter 17. But some of these Edomites, or what appear to be Edomites, they're on point. Sometimes they're 100% correct. Sometimes when I say 100%, 100, if they're breaking down, let's say the Revelation 3, chapter 17, they'll get it. They'll say it's talking about America, it's talking about Rome, but they'll go off a lot. So last night I did a video. I was watching Deacon Destruction Mode, and so he's going back and forth with this guy dealing with the book of Revelation. And the guy clearly made a fool out of himself. He really didn't know the scriptures because he got cornered. Anyway, I didn't get a chance to see this. The Little Known Truth of Revelation 17 by Mark Finley. And you see the chart right here, which this is correct. I mean, well, this whole picture here is correct. I don't know if they go into detail. I don't know if they mention NATO and the EU, Gog and Magog. I don't know if they mention the America's a part of it. But they are correct on the head of gold is Babylon, chest of silver, Persia, thighs of brass, Greece, legs of iron, Rome, feet of iron and clay, which the iron part is Rome. So this is Rome all over again. But there's a weak part of the new reborn, Revelation 13, Roman Empire. The ancient pagan Roman Empire at its height, its pinnacle, was all powerful. Unlike the divided nations, which is the Roman Empire all over again, which we know as NATO and the EU. We've gone through this many a time, which consists of the United States and Canada. And if anybody else is breaking it down any other way, they simply don't understand the scriptures. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to go right into it. And this shouldn't be a super long video. Let's see where the Spirit takes me. So I'm right here in Revelation 17. Erase that. And how many verses it's a short chapter. 18 verses. So let's see where the Spirit takes me. The doom of Babylon. And there came one of the seven angels which had seven vials, and talked with me, saying unto me, Come hither, I will show unto thee the judgment of the great whore that sitteth upon many waters. And I went through this the other day, jumped down to the 15th, yesterday, as a matter of fact. And he saith unto me, the waters which thou sitteth, the waters which thou sitteth, where the whore sitteth. And he said unto me, the waters which thou sawest, where the whore sitteth, are peoples and nations, multitudes and nations and tongues. And that we say clearly America, because America is the great melting pot. First verse again, and there came one of the seven angels which had the seven vials, and talked with me, saying unto me, Come hither, I will show unto thee. There's the angel calling John and showing him these visions, the judgment of the great whore that sitteth upon many waters. And we obviously teach that the great whore is, you know, that great city, the whore, Babylon the Great, which is the U.S., with whom the kings of the earth have committed fornication, went to bed with, not physically went to bed with a physical woman, but they're in cahoots with this system. And all these nations, right? And the proof is the UN, the gathering of the UN, all these different nations from the UN. They all, any of these nations that have gone to the UN, they are all in cahoots with the westernized system. But what happened this year at the General Assembly, which takes place every year, September, the last couple of weeks in September, you have at the UN in New York City, and we spoke in front of the UN a couple of times. I actually went in the building of the UN. But anyway, what happened, you had all these nations, the dark nations, the Arab nations, Moab, all these different various nations. And by the way, all these nations, their leaders are chosen by way of the vote, the democratic system, which they got from who? The US. They didn't get it from Europe, they got it from US. The democracy, which is part of the fornication, which made them drunk. The Americanization of the world, or the westernization of the world. You understand? So, like I said, all these nations got together every year, last couple of weeks of September, every year they get together. This year, and I don't remember this ever happening in the history of the UN. The UN was set up before I was even born. It was after the World War II. The first attempt to set up a world governing body was the League of Nations. So what they did, the nation didn't accept it. So they cleaned, that was after World War I. World War II, they said, we got to do something to stop these wars. Let's have a United Nations. So instead of calling it the League of Nations, they just changed the name. They repackaged it, the United Nations. And they probably made some promises and gave some money out, gave out some goodies, and they said, okay, we're with it. But this year, 2022, the year of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai turning up. And I'm going to say this, the Spirit's on me right now. This is what we're supposed to be doing. This is what we're supposed to be doing. If you are part of GMS, I don't know, whatever IUIC and IUCPK or Sakai, whatever they're doing, if you're part of GMS, you're supposed to be learning this, Ephesians 4:11 on down. You're supposed to be learning this. You're supposed to be made perfect by the apostles, prophets, teachers, evangelists, and so forth. That's one of my favorite precepts because it says it all in a nutshell. The Most High set up apostles, prophets, teachers, evangelists, pastors for teaching the ones that are coming up the right way, perfecting, And why are you perfecting it? For the work of the ministry. I love that. I love that precept. And then it goes into people that, follow every wind of doctrine. When you come into GMS, there's only one doctrine. That's the doctrine of the scriptures, which is broken down correctly by Great Millstone. That's why we're the only camp that can actually say that. None of these camps can say they got 100% truth. We're the only ones. They can't. They dare them to say it. None of them can say it. IUIC can't say it. ISUPK can't say it. Sakari can't say it. Sakari's pretty damn close, but they go off on a couple of things. So, the Spirit had me jump to the side, give you a side note. This is what you're supposed to be doing. There's a big thing of brothers getting together. Well, let's get together and do this, and let's all go up here and come up here, which is good. It's brotherhood. It's brotherhood. But you got a lot of spies, man. You got a lot of spies out there. You got a lot of infiltrators, man. This one guy, I believe it was this one guy knew he died. He got sick and died. But he was out there, in the world. And he was talking about how he had this one guy that was a, policia, but he was undercover. And this guy got so close to him, it was either him or I heard it from somebody else, that he got so close to him that he was like, yo, we boys, we peoples and shit, met my wife, met your wife, you came to my wedding, I came to your wedding, your son this, your confirmation of your daughter and your son in the Roman, whatever. But there was one incident, I forget whether it was from somebody I heard it from or whatever, or actual movie. I think it was an actual case where they said this one guy, infiltrator, got in so deep with this main guy, I guess he was a drug lord or mafioso, whatever, that the guy even invited the infiltrator to be the best man at his wedding. So that if you're gonna allow somebody to be the best man at your wedding, that means you love that person. So all this buddy stuff, we ain't here to be buddy. We're gonna be buddy in the kingdom. That's when we're gonna be buddy. All right. So your focus is you get together, you learn this truth, and you teach the truth. Not you with this, you go out to camp because you and your friend grew up together since y'all was 10, 11 years old, and y'all did everything together. And one guy sees the light, he comes to the truth. You as a friend, you kind of follow him. And what proves that you're not really of the elect, neither y'all, because the main guy that wants to come into the truth that you follow fall off, you're going to fall off right with him. Let every man or everyone be fully persuaded in his own mind, right? Work out your own salvation with fear and trembling. This is a singular thing. The Most High looks at each and every one of you as a single unit, even though we get together, because there's going to be some that's going to fall off that you're very close to. There was I'm gonna get back into it. Bear with me. There was a scene in the movie Heat with Robert De Niro, and I think Val Kilmer was a guy that he like mentored him. He was coming up, if I'm not mistaken. I haven't seen that movie in a while. Good movie, great movie. And this guy, Robert De Niro character, I believe it was, if it was Val Kilmer, he told him, look, how did he say it? Somebody could put it in. I'm going to try to say it the best way I know how to say it. I'm not going to be exact. He said, look, you got to be in the mindset where you got to pack up and get out in a minute's notice. If you have a woman, you're all in love with the woman. If you got to get out of there, fuck that woman. He didn't say it that way, but that's the mentality you got to have. That if you got to drop that, if that woman gets killed because of what you did, she's stuck in the middle of that shit, then fuck her, fuck that bitch. That's an attitude, pretty much. Not saying that you got to be that dastardly, look that word up, and wicked, but you got to have this one, this one goal in mind. Your best friend, the guy that you came up with, y'all both came in the truth at the same time. Y'all go out on double dates, take your wife out with her. They take his wife out, y'all go, y'all have a good old time. You babysit his kids, they babysit your kids. That's not the way to go. That's not the way to go. Because he could be setting you up and said that the kid, you felt my, fondled my daughter, you know. Fucking family reunion. Forget about them fucking family reunions. All right. This is not the big meet and greet. This is about getting this word out. So anybody that's not putting up videos on the regular, they shouldn't be in the camp. Point blank, period. Because they're not of the elect. So let me get back into this. With whom the kings of the earth have committed fornication, and we know what that means, and the inhabitants of the earth, every member of the UN General Assembly, they got the nameplates: Iran, Africa, South Africa, Ghana, Nigeria, US. Russia did not come. China did not come. And there might have been a couple more nations. I'm not going to go, that's a whole different subject. But two major nations did not show up at the UN General Assembly, Russia and China, but there was a couple others. I'm focusing on them two because those are two major powers. There used to be two world powers, the US and Russia. Now there's three world powers, Russia, the US, China, and Russia and China. And by the way, Russia and China are part of the 5 nations that are part of the UN Security Council. Look that up. Look that up. The UN Security Council. As a matter of fact, let me do this. United Nations. Oh boy. United Nations Security Council. All right. Who are the 15 members of the United States Security Council? There's really supposed to be 5 plus 1, which is 6, which is Germany. So I don't know when this came about. I'm not even going to go into this. What are the 5 countries in the United States Security Council? The Security Council consists of 15 members, of which 5 are permanent. So now you have 15, but you have the elite of the Security Council: China, France, Russia. China and Russia didn't show up. The United States, the United Kingdom, and The United States. So who showed up among the five? France and the United States. There's one that's Germany, which is they call it uh, plus one. Let me put it in there. Plus one. Let me see what comes up. They used to cite it that way. Okay. P5 plus one refers to United UN Security Council's five permanent members. The P5, namely China, France, Russia, United States, and the United Kingdom and United States. The plus one's got to be Germany. Senior officer, the P5 plus one, and they ran was that Meton? I can't even say 18 to 20 February 2014, Vienna, Iran, Penn, blah, 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 blah. Why aren't they mentioning Germany? Former Israeli UN, blah, 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 blah. It's supposed to be Germany, but I don't know what's going on here. Anyway, let's come back. So let's go back into it. I gave you a little bit of a some geopolitical information, international, whatever you want to call it. Anyway, so the fornication part means they said all of them committed fornication. China and Russia and China were two, and then there were some others. As a matter of fact, let me do this. Let me do this. Nations that didn't show up at the UN General Assembly this year. Let me go to news. Nations that didn't show up at the UN General Assembly this year. Okay, should we do this one? UN publicly rejects Russia's call for secret vote on Ukraine. Bear me for a minute. Let me try this. That ain't it. I don't want to do all this damn reading. Anyway, forget about it. Let me come back over here. So that's a fact that the two major nations, there were some others. You can put it in the comment section if you want to find it. I'm not going to go crazy looking for it. But what I wanted was the two major nations. That was news. What, about a month ago? Not even a month ago, 3 weeks ago. That there were a bunch of nations, China, Russia and China, were two major nations that said, we're not going. They're still members, but they're saying, look, we ain't feeling this no more. We don't like your, you know, your vessel capacity is too big. we don't get no feeling, so to speak. I'm talking about fornication, right? They no longer want to commit fornication. They no longer want to go to bed with, you know, the Western world. So we're at the, and they made drunk by it. Drunk, you don't know what you're doing. You want to take somebody's money, you want to pickpocket them, take their money, pull their wallet out, take their watch, get them sloppy drunk. And they'll help you they'll help you. Here, you want my watch? Here's my watch. So they're tired of getting, dupe, the double standards of Babylon. Anyway, let me read on. So he carried me away in the spirit into the wilderness, and I saw a woman sit upon a scarlet colored beast. Scarlet means red, full of the names of blasphemy. They're against the Most High, and they're against the children of the Most High. They wore out the saints of the Most High. That's also in the book of Daniel. That's also in the book of Revelation. Well, mainly Daniel 7. They wear out the saints of the Most High, having 7 heads and 10 horns. The original 10 horns goes into, and I had a list in my phone. It goes into the ancient. You got to go back more than 2,000 years ago. The Vandals, the Visigoths, if somebody got the list, you can put it up there. You had the Vandals, the Visigoths, the Gauls, the Franks, the Huns, the Ostrogoths. I mean, if you go into the history, you'll get it. You'll give you those 10. Which some of them, like the Gauls, are also known as the French. When the Roman Empire was being brought together, the chief was Rome itself. It came out of Rome, and you had these other European nations that were a part of it. So that makes up the 10 heads. Now those 10 heads are really like 30 heads, but it's based upon the 10. If you go to the UN consulate down in Manhattan, there's a flag. It's a blue field with 12 white stars around it. Now, 2 of those stars came out of one star that became a second star came out of UK, which is Ireland, which is one of the stars, and the Portugal came out of Spain. And go into the history. So really, it's supposed to be 10 stars. Ireland is a part of the UK. Portugal is originally part of Spain. So it's really supposed to be 10, but there's 12. But that's the official number, which is 12. It's supposed to be 10, but now there's 30. And then you have Ukraine that wants to put an application. Zelensky wants to put an application into being a part of the NATO. And why? We all know why. Because that would cause all the NATO nations to have to, fight in behalf of Ukraine. And that's World War III. That's the end of this, which is going to happen anyway. It's going to happen any goddamn way. And they don't want to do that because they know it's going to quickly become a nuclear war. There's a thing called a balance of power. Let me look that up. Balance of power. This is not what I wanted. Balance of world. Let me try it this way. World power. Let's see what this says. Chinese universities are gaining ground on American institutions in behalf of the global knowledge economy. Here's what's driving the change. I don't want economic power, I want military power. Is the European Union becoming more of a traditional power? Balance of power. In war. Let me try this. Let me try this. Let me do it this way. The world powers all that nuclear talk is the unthinkable suddenly possible. After the Cold War era of nuclear competition between two superpowers, and then the post Cold War years of rising nuclear threats from regional, I'm not going to read the rest of it. So, who are the two superpowers? The two superpowers. The 1962 missiles crisis at the Bay of Pigs was a turning point for Cuba, the Cubans. Cuban President Fidel Castro, brink of nuclear war, and the nuclear war was to be fought because if the U.S. attacked Cuba in any way, Cuba is tethered to the USSR. They would have to come in. That was third. So that there was almost a third World War in 1962. Their focus will primarily be on the two superpowers. Let me click on this. 60 years ago, the world seemed on the brink of nuclear war before the superpowers reach reach an agreement. The missile crisis led Cuba's leaders to distrust their Soviet ally, and an attitude that ultimately helped their revolutionary system to outlast the USSR's. So there was almost World War World War III almost took place in back in 1962, the Bay of Pigs incident. The Bay of Pigs incident. So it says, and the woman was arrayed. And I'll get into the heads. Like I said, the 10 heads represent the the Gauls, the the Visigoths, the Ostrogoths, the Vandals. I forget all the names. I mean, I can easily go back in the history and find out. Somebody could put it on the comment section. But I had a pick. I had it in my one of my my old smartphone. I had the list of the 10, the original 10. Now there's Turkey. Any uh, EU nation, not NATO nation, but any EU nation. Well, EU and NATO are interchangeable, but the major nations represent the seven. And I'm gonna get into that. It says, and the woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet color and decked with gold and precious stones and pearls. That represents riches, that represents royalty, that represents the elite, having a golden cup in her hand full of abominations and filthiness of a fornication. And because they condemn you if you are a particular country and you condemn moles, you condemn certain things. You put a woman to death because she committed adultery with another man outside of her husband, and they have a public stoning, or which they still do, or they chop her head off. Now the U.S. gets wind of it, they're going to say, no, you can't do that. And if you continue to do that, we're going to send troops in, or we're going to cut aid by way of sanctions and embargoes and tariffs and so forth. So people have to go by the Western standard in order for them to live a certain way of life. And this thing that's happening over there in Europe, with the oil being cut off, with this whole war, the Russia-Ukrainian war, a lot of these people in Europe, they're going to suffer. A lot of them are going to die. And that might be the catalyst to cause them to ultimately come against the whore. So everything is lining up perfectly. 4th verse. And the woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet color and decked with gold and precious stones and pearls, having a golden cup in her hand full of abominations and filthiness of a fornication. And upon her forehead was a name written, Mystery Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots and the abomination of the earth. Now, when you put this in numerical order, you add this up numerically in the Hebrew, because the Hebrew alphabet, the Hebrew characters are not only letters, they're also they have a numeric value. Now, I happen to have a New Testament Hebrew Bible. I have the whole New Testament in the Hebrew. They go off a little bit here and there. Like they'll tell you when you look up so-called Jesus in the Hebrew, I believe it's Yahushua, if I'm not mistaken. But if you go to, what is that? Acts, I believe it's Acts 6, Acts 7, around about the 46th verse, if I'm not mistaken. And it speaks about Joshua. It'll say Jesus. Now that book that I have, if I find it, I'll do a video on it. I'll show you what the book looked like. The word, anytime you come across that word Jesus and it's talking about Joshua, when you go to the Hebrew, it's written out correctly, Yahushua. And we know that Joshua and so-called Jesus is the same, he pronounces the same Hebrew word. So that shows you that these elite know what the hell they know the power of that name. And upon her forehead was a name written, Mystery Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots and abomination of the earth. Now I said the Hebrew in the New Testament, there's a numerical value to each letter. Now, when you add all of this up, and I was taught this by High Priest Ariah, he taught me one way. I mistakenly did it the wrong way, but it still came out to 603 scoring 6. He gave me a formula, but I did it a little bit different. So there's 2 ways of breaking it down. And I did this both ways. And many years ago, Apostle Limelight did a video on, I believe the video is still up. If it's up, you can put it up or send it to me and I'll put it up. And you tell me that the elite, their eyes are not on any other Hebrew Israelite group outside of the One West. We have this truth. And that's all we have. It's the truth. 6th verse, and I saw the women drunken with the blood of the saints, what did I say earlier? Daniel 7, they wore out the saints of the Most High. They came against the saints. So on the other side of the world, the Roman Empire, during the time of the Greeks, a lot of us were put to death. A lot of us was martyred. The disciples, the apostles became martyred. The only one that wasn't was John, because he had to receive put together the book of Revelation for the seven churches of Asia Minor. It says, and I saw the woman drunken with the blood of the saints. We died in slavery in the what do you call it, the Middle Passage. You know, we're still dying to this day. And who are the saints? The saints are all Israel, whether they're doing wicked or not. They are the saints, because ultimately they're going to come back as the saints, which the word saint means, like you get the word sanitation. Sanitation means clean. You sanitize a bathroom, right? You make it clean. It also means holy. It goes back to the Hebrew word. Quadash, not kadash. It's quadash, quadash, which means holy, righteous, clean. If somebody's insane, in meaning not, and sane meaning sanitized or a sanctified saint. Insane means not saint. You're not saintly. You're not clean. You're not holy. And with the blood of the martyrs of Yahushua, you go back into the history. Peter, the Apostle Paul, the rest of the apostles. John was sentenced to life. He was already up in almost, he had to be, if he wasn't 100, he was near 100. And he was sentenced to the salt mine. They didn't give a damn about your age. Oh, you're 90 years old. We don't give a shit. Go on. We're going to sentence you to the Isle of Patmos. And when I saw her, I wondered with great admiration. Now, what did that mean? If you look at a woman that she got a nice body, she looks good, you got feelings for that woman. She might be the wickedest woman in the world. You got feelings for that woman. So John had feelings for that woman because she was so alluring. And that's what he actually saw. He actually saw a woman. What did the woman represent? It represents the U.S., Babylon. And the angel said unto me, wherefore didst thou marvel? I will tell thee the mystery of the woman and of the beast that carrieth her. And this, when you go back to the Deacon Destruction mode, the live that he did last night with this guy, whatever his name is, Chuck Wagon, whatever his name was. Chuck's Finest or whatever, which he didn't understand. Oh, the seven heads represent Egypt, Babylon, Scandinavia. He got that from Esau. It says, and of the beast that carrieth her. Who's the beast? The beast represents NATO and the EU, which hath, the NATO is a military part and the EU is a political economic part. It used to be called the what is it? The European Economic, what was it? European Economic, somebody can help me. Matter of fact, if all else fails, go to Google. Even Ye said that. If all else fails, go to Google. Okay, let me see here. Okay, let me see here. I don't need that. I don't need that. Come back over here. Bear me for a minute. Let me come back over here. I don't need all that. A woman and the beast that carried her. which have the 7 heads and 10 horns. The beast that thou sawest was and is not, and shall ascend out of the bottomless pit and go into perdition. That's destruction. And they that dwell on the earth shall wonder whose names are not written in the book of life from the foundation of the world. The ones that are written in the book of life are the elect, 144,000, and the rest of the elect. When they behold the beast that was and is not and yet is. And here is the mind which hath wisdom, the 7 heads of 7 mountains, which represents governments, on which the woman sitteth, which is the U.S. And there are 5 kings, 5 are fallen, and one is, and one is, and the other is not yet come. And when he cometh, he must continue a short space. The one that's going to continue a short space is UK, the great empire before the US. It was the UK. So the 5 that fell was the one that was during the time of John was the Roman Empire. And there were 7 kings, 5 are fallen, Germania Major, Germania Minor, Greece, the French, and Hispaniola, Spain. Those are the major ones. Then you had the 10 horns represent the other country, the other European Edomite countries. And the one is Rome. And the other is not yet come, which is the UK. It didn't become a great power. And when he cometh, he must continue a short space. That's the UK. And the beast that was and is not, even he. And the beast is what? The beast is the ancient Roman Empire. And the beast that was and is not, even he is the 8th and is of the 7, not the 7th. Actually, he came out of the 7th, which was the UK, and goeth into perdition. So the woman is also known as a beast. And the beast that was Rome and is not, Rome is going to die. Revelation 13, deadly wound was healed. Even he is the 8th. This is the U.S. The great power, the great world power is America. Everybody at one time wanted to come to America because they were taught that the streets were paved with gold and go off into perdition. Perdition means what? Doesn't mean hell. It means
Strong's G 684. Apolia. Apolia.
That's where you get the word Apollo or Apollyon, which means destroy. Destroy or the destruction, a vessel, a perishing, ruin, destruction of money, the destruction which consists of eternal misery in hell, which there's no hell. You see, you go to the destruction, waste, destruction is going to be destroyed. Now we're living in this part. This is getting ready to happen. So 12 verse, Revelation 17 and 12. And the 10 horns which thou sawest are 10 kings, which have received no kingdom as yet, but receive power as kings 1 hour with the beast. I'm not going to go into the 1 hour. That'll be a different lesson. It actually represents about 42 years. So you go to the signing, the charter of the EU nations, which was 57, 58. So when you go 42 years up, that was around the year 2000. So they're living on borrowed time. Their time was up. Like the scriptures say, you live to be 70, 10, which is 70 years, 60, and 10 makes it 70 years, and with strength, 40, which is 80 years. My grandmother died at 92, and she wanted to die because all her peers, her sister all her parents died. She said, I ain't got nobody to talk to. You know, she didn't want to be in the earth no more. And she lived well past the 80. So is the Most High going off? No. See, once I'm at a certain age. I only got so many years left. I'm only promised so many years. And once I hit that point of 80 years old, I'm living on borrowed time. I'm really living on borrowed time at the age of 70. So Esau is living on borrowed time because his time was up. And that goes into was that Hosea 6? His time was up in the year 2000. So he's living on borrowed time. And that's when the toes started really breaking up. And the 10 horns, which thou sawest are 10 kings, is the same defeat of it in Daniel 2, which have received no kingdom as yet, but receive power as kings 1 hour with the beast. The beast represents what? The U.S., the NATO nations, and that's NATO and the EU. Every time you hear about the Ukraine and Russia, you're going to hear something about NATO and the U.S. because they're involved in it. They're supplying the weapons now. Now you have what new nation? You have Iranian soldiers now fighting on the side of Russia. You got Belarus fighting on the side of Russia. And you got China supplying Russia, and the U.S. and the NATO forces are supplying the Ukraine. Ultimately, so they're all. This is the third world war. But they haven't. The U.S. hasn't totally got into it. Are there U.S. soldiers fighting this war? You got damn right. It's all in the news. Them getting captured, but they're fighting as mercenaries. They're not fighting in the name of the U.S. So the U.S. is not officially involved in war, but they're out there. They got U.S. forces out there fighting. And this thing is going to come to a head after they institute the MOTB. These have one mind, and they make agreements and shall give their power and strength unto the beast, unto the system. Which involve and that involved the U.S. They're also the beast. Everything comes out of the U.S., not out of Canada. Victory of the Lamb. These shall make war with the Lamb. And what's that talking about? When the Lord comes back to deliver the Israelites, the ones that have not received the digital all from this devil, and that's the test. That's the ultimate test. Read Revelation 14. It ain't talking about Christianity. It ain't talking about an embargo. It ain't talking about sin. I mean, it is a sin if you take it, but sin going against the Lord, because he commanded that. It's talking about an actual physical thing. And we here, let the record reflect that we here at Great Millstone, we are well beyond saying it. So when it actually happens, a lot of people they're gonna shift on over to GMS. These other people that are following IUIC, like we call them zombies, they're zombies. They're zombies. And if you in GMS and you're a zombie, go join IUIC. These shall make war with the Lamb. And see, we know exactly what's going to come, but that's why the Most High gave us these scriptures and open our mind to the scriptures. When the MOTB actually comes, which is here already, but when they actually make it mandatory, we're going to know it's going to pop right into our heads. All these other camps that are teaching otherwise, their followers are going to bug the hell out. They don't know. They ain't going to know what to do. And a lot of them are going to flock. Mark my words. I could be wrong, but a lot of them are going to flock to GMS. A lot of them are window shopping. These shall make war with the Lamb, and the Lamb shall overcome them. That's that great, as Lahab would say, the great climactic battle, whatever that word means. That's a word that Lahab made up. the great climactic, climactic battle. For he is Lord of Lords and King of Kings. Are the one are the one Wa Malach shall Malachium. And they that are with him are called and chosen and faithful. Who are called and chosen and faithful? Us, the ones of us that are diligent, the ones of us that have kept the faith. What does Revelation 3:10 say? Read that. So if you take this charagma, the MOTB, you're not going to make it. You can't take it and then turn around and when you see the ships, when you see the ships coming, when you see the ships, inside joke, you can't all of a sudden ask the Most High to forgive you. You're not going to be forgiven because you're not chosen. You're not chosen. And they that are with him are called and chosen and faithful. The called, the chosen, and the faithful are not going to get that charagma. How do we know that? Go to Revelation 20, verse 4. It clearly states that. Not some of them going to get it, but they're going to ask the Most High. They're going to have tweezers and they're going to pull it out at the last minute and ask the Most High. No, that's not going to happen. If you get it, you're condemned. You better hope like hell if you do get it, that shit pops back out. There was one guy he looked like an Edomite, could have been a Jake. He got it. He got the chip. He was a fireman. The videos, you can probably find it. They put it in his arm and it popped out. And I believe he said, I'm not going to get it. It was like an omen telling him, don't get it. It popped right out. I don't know how that happened, but I don't know if the video's still there. If it's there, somebody can put it up or look for it. It says, we almost finished. 15 verse. And he saith unto me, the waters which thou sawest, where the Hua sitteth, are people and multitudes and nations and tongues. That's America. That's the place that's going to be destroyed. So what about these other European nations? Well, we're going to go, we're going to land, we're going to come in the ships, we're going to land down, and we're going to come out the ships, and they're going to try to attack us, and they're going to meet the X-Men. That's who they're going to meet. They're going to meet the X-Men. They're going to meet what's this guy, Magneto. They're going to meet Dr. Xavier. They're going to meet Pyro. They're going to meet us. X meaning unknown, the unknown men. We are the unknown men. And they're going to try to attack us. And we'll probably say, if we have to say, they'll shoot guns at us, and one of us will probably Apostle Gabar say, he said, you Homo sapiens and your guns. Now watch the first X-Men. That was some real power. People relate to spiritual powers. That's why they're so, man, I can't wait to see Black Adam. And I hope they do it justice, man. So it goes on to say, we almost out of here, 3 more verses. And 16th verse, and the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore. What does the 10 horns represent? It represents the rest of the NATO nations and all of the EU nations, especially the ones that possess the nuclear missiles. And that's part of the assembly of great nations. Your own allies are going to come against you and shall make her desolate and naked, become a desert, and shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire. What fire? Fire from the missiles. For the Most High have put it in their hearts to fulfill his will and to agree and give their kingdom unto the beast until the words of the Most High shall be fulfilled. So this is yet to happen. And the woman which thou sawest is that great city. It's also the beast, which is the eighth that came out of the 7. She's known as the woman in scarlet. She's also known as the beast. She also sitteth upon the previous beast, because the current beast, NATO and the EU supports, backs up the key nation that they're going to talk about when the NATO gets together, the key people that make the decisions come out of the U.S. and they're following the lead of the U.S. And the woman which thou sawest is that great city, which is Babylon the Great, the U.S., which reigneth over the kings of the earth. So anyway, with that, I'm going to say shalom.